So there are three critical elements to behavioral change that need to be at the core of any program you build. The first is self-knowledge. And if you've heard me speak before, you will have always heard me say, I'm not talking about a nod to a psychometric here. I'm talking about deeply understanding who you are, what you're here for, what kind of leader you're meant to be. Are you meant to be an expert guru or a people leader or a campaign or a strategic thinker? You need to understand what belief systems you've picked up along the way, what beliefs are holding you back and what beliefs are propelling you forward. You need to understand your value system. You need to understand what puts you in your element. So when you understand this about yourself, you get to start to look at the root belief system that is actually driving your behavior. So whilst you might know that it is a good idea to go to the gym 3 times a week or eat healthily, when you get under the covers of yourself, you'll begin to recognize that your belief system, whilst it knows that intellectually, has a much deeper belief around it's far more important to stay on my email till 8 o'clock in the evening so my boss knows I'm doing a good job. So when I'm talking about self-knowledge, I am talking about really peeling back the layers of the onion to understand deeply who you are. And it is only when you get to that level that you can understand what is holding you back from change. So if we take an organizational example, I may know intellectually that being an inclusive leader or being an innovative leader or being a leader that develops others is a good idea. So why don't I do it on a regular basis? Because I also have a deeper root belief system that is actually truly driving my behavior. Intellectual knowledge and understanding what drives our behavior are two very, very different things. So for change to happen, we need to put in place this process, this space to develop deep self-knowledge. When we do that, we have a real hope of making the change happen. The second part of personal behavioral change is what we call self-empowerment. And these are really giving yourself the skills that enable you to take the person you've just got to know to the world. And I always like to think about this in terms of the fact that there are two different types of skills. On the one hand, there's really pragmatic skills. How do I run a really good meeting? How do I build an effective team? How do I communicate an idea and get buy-in? Really pragmatic skills that can be learned and taught. The second is a sort of deep understanding, a sort of understanding of what I would call game-changing skills. So the skill, for example, of how to use my mind, how to use my thinking power, how to use my thinking time. Our thought drives our feeling and our feeling drives our behavior. So if we're actually going to understand how to change, I need to understand what is driving my behavior. So self-empowerment on the one hand is this super pragmatic set of skills, but on the other hand, it's this sort of deep understanding of how I activate my most powerful elements. So that's the second part. The third part is self-leadership. Self-knowledge is just like a joy to understand, actually. Can be a bit frightening for people at times. Self-empowerment, again, I mean, we get feedback all the time. People go, oh my God, that worked. That was so easy. That meeting was so much better. That conversation was so much better. But without self-leadership, actually, quite frankly, they mean nothing. Because effectively, self-leadership is about ownership. It's about owning our experience of life. It's about owning the energy we bring to a situation. It's about owning who we are. It's about our discipline, our engagement and commitment to change. It's about follow through on our vision, not only for the kind of leader we're going to become, but the kind of life we want to live. So self-leadership, I think, is about recognizing that this thing isn't going to fall into our laps. If we want change to happen, we have to choose into them and drive it forward. So this is what I would call the what of personal change.